Okay, can someone please tell me why my first thought on seeing the PS5 was of the costumes in The Handmaid's Tale? Seriously, I took one look at it and that's all I could think of. Well, that and the fact that the standard edition looks like a pregnant handmaid with that bulge sticking out for the disk drive. The build-up to the reveal was pretty cool, with pulsating blue structure and it all looked very alien, and I was getting quite excited. And then when the lights came up, there it was. Or there they were, because there were two. And I'll get to that in a minute. But let's go back to the design for a moment, because I took one look at it and the first words out of my mouth were, "Dear Mother of God, what the hell is that?" Seriously, that's what actually came out of my mouth. Then I shouted to my partner, who was in the other room, "Hey, you got to come and have a look at this. The PlayStation 5 looks like an extra from The Handmaid's Tale." And yeah, that's what I thought. It only had to be red, and it would have looked just like a kind of silhouette of a handmaid. I honestly don't know why that was my first thought. Maybe I'm just a bit weird, but those fins sticking out at the top look just like the head coverings the handmaids wear. And, I'm honestly not sure what I would have done if the main body of the console had been red instead of black, because that would have just been too much. My second thought, though, was, how the hell will this thing fit in my AV rack? Because for the life of me, I couldn't work out how it was going to lay flat with all those curves. Fortunately, it does turn out that both the standard PS5 and the PS5 digital can be used horizontally. So that's actually a massive relief for me. I'd love to be able to use it in the vertical position, but it's simply not practical. And I would imagine that's probably true for an awful lot of gamers out there. It's certainly an interesting design though, and one which is almost the polar opposite of the Xbox Series X with its boxy, functional, industrial look. In fact, once I got the idea of the handmaid's costume out of my head, well, actually I didn't get it out of my head, it's still there like a visual worm. But once I'd pushed it to the back of my mind, my next thought was that the Xbox Series X was like Arthur C. Clarke's Monolith from 2001, and the PlayStation 5 was like the alien spaceship that delivered it. And now I'm thinking of Death Stranding for some reason. Damn you, Sony. Anyway, look, back on topic. The fact is, no matter what you think of the design, nobody can say it isn't striking, and honestly, that's not a bad thing. Even if I'm not personally sure about it, I'm sure I'll come round, because, you get used to these things, don't you? Once I got over the initial shock at the design, though, I started to think about other things, like the practicalities of it. And we all know that the Xbox Series X has been designed with cooling in mind. So I started to wonder how well this design would handle that side of things. Because, we have been hearing reports that Sony were having problems keeping this thing cool. On the other hand, though, there were also reports that Sony had been designing this from the ground up to handle cooling. And so, you pay your money and you take your choice. Will it cool well or won't it cool well? We still don't actually know. And we'll only really know once we get our hands on the final retail models. But honestly, I'd be surprised if Sony hasn't learned from the PS4. Early models of the PlayStation 4 Pro especially could sound like a bloody jumbo jet taking off. And for me, that wasn't such a bad thing, because it reminded me of my old gaming PC from the 90s, which also sounded like a jumbo jet taking off. But most people who are a bit more practical than me didn't like it. And if I'm being honest, I didn't actually like it either. When I turn my PlayStation 4 Pro on, it's a lot louder than my projector. And that's got a fan in it, which, it sort of sits in the background and cools. And interestingly enough, that's also a Sony design. And, presumably it's got a lot more power going through it. And it's quieter than the PlayStation 4. So, I don't know. Let's hope the PlayStation 5 does better. On from that, the next big surprise was the fact that Sony are going to be launching with 2 SKUs of the console, as I mentioned earlier. The reveal came up and we saw 2. There was the standard edition and there was the digital edition, one with a drive, one without. And look, there'd been rumours for some time that Sony might be working on 2 versions of the PlayStation 5, but, those rumours had been pretty quiet lately. So, personally, I wasn't expecting to see that digital edition. And well, not yet anyway. I expected we'd get something down the line perhaps, but I wasn't expecting to see it yesterday. It is a good move though. We saw that Microsoft, last year, they put out the all-digital edition of the Xbox One S, or the SAD as it became known. And, people like me took the mickey out of it, but I think it actually sold pretty well. And, we are moving to an all-digital future. And I've said this before, it's inevitable. People like me may not like it, but it's going to happen. And this also means that Sony can release a version of the PlayStation 5 that's considerably cheaper, which could be very appealing to people who want to buy a console for their kids this Christmas. Because, parents, well, anyone really, if they're looking to buy something like this, especially when things are tight, which they're going to be after COVID and in this country with Brexit happening as well, people are going to be short of cash. And so being able to buy a cheaper version, well, it's kind of a no-brainer for a lot of people, especially if they're moving towards just using digital content. And, as an aside to that, I just hope that both Sony and Microsoft sort out game sharing, because you've got your digital content and it's not easy to share that content. We need it to be easier for family members so that they can share their purchases. Apple and Google do it with their apps on their stores. So why not games from Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo? It should be a given that if you buy 3 consoles for you and your kids, you should be able to set up a family account and play together easily instead of jumping through fiery hoops or spending a fortune on multiple digital copies of a game. I mean, maybe I'm out there, but that's what I think. But anyway, look, that's an aside, as I say. Let's get back on topic. It does look like the digital edition of the PlayStation 5 is exactly the same as the standard edition with only the disc drive missing. And that's a bit different to what we're hearing about the Xbox with the Series X and possibly Series S. I don't know what it's going to be called, but it looks like that one's going to be actually quite different internally as well. But again, we don't really know at this stage. But going back to the PlayStation 5, that means no physical games can be played on the system, and that includes your back catalogue of PlayStation 4 games that you have sitting on your shelf. Like me, if you're like me, you've got a lot of games sitting on your shelf. If you buy the digital edition, obviously they're not going to work unless Sony come up with some means of moving those games over. You can go and trade them in and get a digital copy or something. And I know Microsoft toyed with that idea, but I don't know how far they've got along with that. It also means no access to 4K Blu-ray either, but, only people like me care about that, and people like me have dedicated Blu-ray players anyway, so, does it really matter? The fact is, as I said before, most people have already moved towards digital purchases and to streaming, so not having a disc drive will be no great loss for them, especially if the all-digital edition of the console is considerably cheaper, which I expect it will be. All in all then, I think this was a decent showing of the console. I still have my reservations about the minuscule amount of storage on the PlayStation 5. As far as I'm concerned, you can't get around that. 825 gig is too small for the current gen. Never mind the next gen. And space requirements will only go up, not down. And, we still don't know the cost of NVMe drives for the PlayStation 5 that, we're going to have to use to extend the storage because we are going to need it to extend the storage. Just like I said with the Switch. How many people out there are running a Switch without an SD card? I can't imagine many. Not unless you've only got 2 games. And, talking about price, we still didn't get anything on, the actual price of the console itself. Personally, I still suspect the full-fat PlayStation 5 will be around $499. And that will probably translate to £499 as well. It depends. It could be $450. Who knows? That probably puts the digital edition at between $399 to $450. But, I could be way off on that. At this stage, though, it's almost as if Sony and Microsoft are waiting for each other to blink so that they can undercut the competition. But, we can't wait much longer. These consoles launch in about, 4 months' time? And pre-orders are going to be up long before that. So I expect to see pricing sooner rather than later. So yeah, it was interesting, and I quite enjoyed the stuff that came before the reveal. And maybe I'll make another video about that. If you're interested in seeing me talk about the games and stuff like that, let me know, and I'll make a video about that. But I did see some commentators hammering their tent pegs into the ground last night. And, a lot of them were really predictable in their responses. Either the PlayStation 5 was the second coming of Christ, or the reveal was wholly disappointing, with Sony having become lazy due to their success with the PlayStation 4. Personally, though, I don't think that helps anyone. Splitting down partisan lines, if you like, fanboy lines. And I think they're all wrong. I think the PlayStation 5 looks strong. The design's striking, and it definitely offers some interesting innovations. And the all-digital edition is a sensible move, even if I don't like it. In short, it was a mixed bag. It offered a lot, but it also left a lot of questions. And, I wasn't left feeling that Sony blew Microsoft out of the water. Neither was I left with the feeling that, Sony had a long way to go to catch Microsoft up. I think this is very interesting, and I think they're, as I said before, they're sort of playing cat and mouse, if you like, both on price and with, features and functions and all the rest of it. I'll still be buying both consoles if I can afford them, and I'll be buying the full fat version of the PlayStation 5, even if it does look like it's pregnant. But, what do you think? Did the PlayStation 5 blow you away? And more importantly, did it blow the Xbox Series X away? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video, and all the rest of it. You know the drill. You will be helping me out, though, because, let's be honest, YouTube isn't really helping out small YouTubers. So, as I say, like, share, subscribe, and all the rest of it. And that's me done. I'm going to go and grab myself a cup of tea, and I'll speak to you guys in the next one. Bye.